Now let's jump into, we're saying all these things of like why the government's doing this inflation, trying to slow the economy, trying to make people effectively be a bit more conservative with their spending. Now let's see if it's working. So quarter one, our GDP here in Canada was 3.1% increase. All right. It was expected to be about 5.2. So that means our GDP increased by 40% less than expected, roughly.
With an inflation of 7. Holy God.
Yeah. Like, so it's the GDP is contracting, inflation's still up, but that is a positive indicator for slowing the economy.
Yeah,
now they're attributing a lot of that to net import-export. In the States, first quarter, they actually had a recessionary report of minus 1.4% on their GDP. Like, so their GDP contracted, and they blamed it on the same thing. So you can already see this happening a little bit. With the housing market.
So scary. I got to interrupt. It's so scary. If people can think of like two lines in their head and GDP is like not increasing and inflation is like, those are like very key indicators of like how much money is changing hands and how much things cost. So just think like if GDP is not increasing near the inflation rate, like that is meaning that somewhere there's a loss. There's a loss in that system, and those lines are going to cross back over at some point with aggression.
Well, like the inflation reporting is always going to lag some of these things, right? But
and that's true.
The reason we obsess over housing is because I saw this stat, and I wish I had it here in front of me. Over the last like 5 or 6 years, 85% of Canada's GDP growth has been attributable to the housing market.
Even sketchier.
Like that means the growth that our economy has
going negative
over the last 5 years, the vast majority of it can be attributed to household spending, right? Real estate and household spending. And normally it kind of is around 13 to 15%. So if that drops off significantly, it's not unthinkable to see these recessions. We got a lot of criticism out there. People like, there's not going to be a recession. This is blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that we will actually go into negative periods of GDP growth. Like we're still at 3.2 or whatever I said it was. That's still positive GDP growth. But it like if that was the numbers reporting from January, February, March, which were still bull market.
Yeah.
What are they going to look like for these next 3 months where that we're intentionally pulling the housing market and consumer spending way down? Is it possible that our next quarter of GDP will actually be negative? It's hard because, month over month, this is the tourist time of year. It's going to be skewed, right? But
the tourist time of year is only going to impact certain specific cities. Like we'll do okay with it and all that. But like, I don't necessarily think some of these inner regions of Canada are as heavily tourist leveraged. But I think this is a huge indicator, and why I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast agree with it, but maybe not everyone in general. And I don't think the general sentiment's there. But this is why other industries are so extremely important. And so you don't leverage. It's like everyone was like, oh my God, like Dubai is 100% leveraged on oil. And if that stops, they're screwed. And so they did an amazing job of going out and getting heavily into real estate, making some of the world's craziest real estate to draw on our real estate economy.
Yeah.
They went out and set up a bunch of stuff for tech. They hosted every tech conference and every big tech event, and they got all the companies to go out there and do that. So now they have a huge tech industry. And so they're like diversifying. They set up their financial industries there to service the Middle East. And so they did a big push on that. They have a ton of issues, I know, and they have a ton of human rights issues, blah, 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 on and on. I'm just stating.
Did you just blah, blah, blah human rights issues?
I didn't blah, blah, blah human rights. What I'm trying to say is
blah, blah, blah.
is that they made an effort on that front. Yeah, exactly. Don't even encourage them to come at me.
Clip the video right here.
Yeah, but we have done, I think, a terrible job in Canada of this, honestly. An industry side?
I don't know what terrible is a fair...
What do you mean? We're constantly squeezing out every bit of industry that's out there. Anything that does decently well, we squeeze the living lights out of it until they leave. They get to a point where like it's not, and this is why we buy everything from the States. We have to cut our trees, send them to the States, and then buy them back. We buy our oil from the States. Like we buy everything from out of town.
I don't think that's a fair criticism of Canada specifically when you're in a global economy now. Like people who rag on Canada for like the price of gas don't understand that like oil is set internationally. Like there's only so much that we can do unless we really go old school. We only produce for ourselves and blah, blah, blah.
I don't know, man. I crossed the border and the gas price drops by about 55% instantly on the first gas station.
Well, that is taxes, though. That's taxes. That's
but 55% is not just taxes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thanks for watching the clip, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see the full episode, check out our other page. The link is in the description. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok.
When I was broke, I had rich habits. When I was broke, I had rich habits.